Welcome everybody. Um, I'd just like to say before I get into this, just take what resonates, leave it be. If it doesn't, just move on, find something that does. That's all that matters, is that you're true to yourself and what resonates within your being on your journey. I just try and help the best I can. So, right now, many people, awake or asleep, are being triggered, and the emotions are pretty intense. And everybody's at different stages of this. So there's two streams at the moment, and you could be experiencing both. You could be experiencing bliss and expansion of your divinity that you already are, or you could be in the thick of your emotions and not really knowing where to go, or you could be experiencing both. You could be just at the tail end of the patterns within your mind, and you're just at the tail end of dissolving the very last ones, so that your emotional body then becomes clear. So everybody's at different stages. It doesn't matter. We're all in this together. The main thing is to know how you can clear what triggers you. So we have to get through the last of the patterns that are running between each of us, for the higher self to be coming in more and more across the planet to each one of us. It's the second stage, if you like, I'm calling it that, of the ascension, which is all about the higher self within the body of the human, and that completely expands everything. Okay, so let's get to the work, and this is just the way I've done it for years, and it works for me. That's all I can say. You may have your way. If your way works, keep going. Just do as is natural for you. But what I see in the collective is people can have their way of dissolving, and it doesn't actually dissolve the pattern, so it comes back, it cycles, in other words. It can be that when people go into the work of looking within at an emotion or a trigger, it can be that they stay in blaming the outer, in which case it's not going to dissolve. And it can be that people start to do the work within and look at their pattern, and then they suddenly get this light bulb moment of, oh, that's why it is, that's why I react this way, that's why I've got this emotion. And then they jump ship and leave it there thinking they've dissolved it. And if they just stayed on the ship a little bit longer, they'd have actually gone deeper and deeper and deeper, and then reached the core truth of their pattern. So in that instance, that pattern is going to come again, because the core truth of it hasn't been seen. And then finally, there's another reason we don't dissolve patterns, is because something happens, we absolutely have done the work and have got to the core truth in that moment, on that timeline. But there was actually a bigger elephant in the room all along, and it just is that it was not time to see the bigger elephant in the room. So in other words, we have to sometimes dissolve patterns and patterns and patterns to come up in energy, raise our vibration, in order to then have the capability to see the bigger elephant in the room, that is a massive pattern that we didn't see all along. So there's lots of reasons why we think we don't get there, and sometimes we think we do. So this is just my way, and there's lots and lots of ways out there. So just do what feels natural. If you try and do a particular method that doesn't feel comfortable, then you're going to have resistance, and it's going to be difficult for you to work with. So find one that's easy. Find one that's just easy and fits with you and your personality. This is the one I use. It just came naturally about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and I just use it again and again. So I also want to say that in the only way we can see our patterns is if we submerge into the 3D and the lower 4D reality. So a lot of people beat themselves up thinking, well, I was up here and then this happened and I went right the way down again, and they beat themselves up for dropping down. And it's no. Your higher self is guiding you all along. The only way you can see human old behavior patterns is if you submerge into the human. You're not going to see them up here. You've got to plummet down. And that is part of the sine waves that I talk about from now and again, where we plummet down, and it's at the bottom of the sine wave that we're at our low, and we've been triggered, and life is and we don't know which way to turn, and it's there, it's at the bottom of the sine wave that we do the work on ourselves, or we choose not to. And if we do the work on ourselves, we rise and we feel the elation of having cleared something. So don't beat yourself up for plummeting down. That is the gift. You're only going to see it in your human mode, your 3D and your lower 4D human mode. That's the gift. So when something happens, notice obviously that you've been triggered, but then sit quietly and look at what emotion you feel. It's the emotion, not the story, not who said what, not what's happened at all. Look at the emotions that you feel. Because emotion is energy in motion. We're all just energy. Everything is energy. And emotions in the 3D realm of forgetfulness, where we're very much in our minds, are defined. They're defined as happy, sad, lonely, lost, unhappy, angry. That's how we have defined emotions. But emotions are simply at their core energy in motion within your human body. And then we add these definitions to it. So look at the energy, in other words, that's within your body. How do you feel? What is the emotion? And take your time with that. Define it correctly. Take your time. Make sure you're accurate about what emotion you're feeling. So, for example, something happens and someone says, how do you feel? And you say, well, I could kill him. He's just getting on my nerves. I could kill him. That's not the emotion of you could kill him. That's just something you may want to do. It's what is the emotion. Really focus on, close your eyes, block out the whole scene, close your eyes and just focus on what am I feeling. Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling angry? Am I feeling frustrated? Am I feeling lonely? Focus on the emotion and be very, very accurate, because if you get that stage wrong, you're not going to get to the core truth of the pattern. Make time to do this. Don't do it in a rush before you go to the shops or go to work. Give yourself quality time. Give that as a gift to yourself. You deserve it. Some quality time to sit and be with this 100%. After defining the emotion, you're going to look back. So you felt, say, hurt. Let's say you felt hurt. Look back through your life and go backwards. So go from today, go backwards in time to the last time you felt the exact same emotion. Find it. And when you find it, most likely it will be a completely different circumstance, maybe with a different person. And just log it that you felt that emotion 2 years ago with so-and-so doing this. Don't go into a massive story of that past event. All you're trying to do is find the last time that you felt the emotion. Then go back again. Maybe you're in your 40s and you experienced it at work. Maybe you were in your 30s. Go back again. Maybe you're in your 30s and you were in a relationship and you experienced it then. So log it. Do the work and just realize the storyline, then log it. You had that same emotion. Go back to your teenager years. That is actually quite a nice key one. Teenage years. And find when in your teenage years did you feel that same emotion? What happened? You're not going into massive storylines. You're just looking for the same emotion and be focused just on that, looking for the same emotion. You're going back in time to see when you experienced the same emotion. And the whole reason you're looking a few years ago maybe, or maybe last week, then go back into the decades of your life, and then find one when you were a teenager where you're having exactly the same reaction, the same emotion. And the whole reason you're doing this is to convince yourself that you have a pattern of behavior that is ingrained within you. In other words, it has nothing to do with the people in your reality. It's a reaction that you have. And then, once you've looked at something, it will have happened again in your teenage years. Then, go back to your childhood, to the earliest memory you have of experiencing that emotion, and take your time, which is why you must do this work on a day when you're being kind to yourself, when you can give love to yourself. If you're in a state of beating yourself up, feeling worthless, hating yourself, then that is what you're going to give to the work that you're doing to heal yourself. You're giving a lack of love to yourself. So go back to your childhood and try and find the earliest memory you have of experiencing exactly the same emotion. And just be there. Let that childhood, because the childhood one is the key, let that childhood memory play out in your mind, all the while being love to yourself. So you can almost be the mother of you, the mother to your child. So be the observer as a mother to the child that had that first emotional experience, and how that child reacted in that circumstance. And just be with it. with kindness, love, as a mother would her own child. And when you've sat with that just for a little while, you can then ask yourself, what did you really, really want to feel as that child in that moment? Whatever the emotion was, what did you really, really want from the person that was in your life at the time that you reacted to? What was it you really wanted? Because every single behavioral pattern, every upsetting emotional reaction that we as humans have has one common denominator: the lack of love. In that moment as a child, all you wanted was to be loved for who you are. You wanted love. Maybe as an example, maybe in adult life you develop a temper. That back and look at it from when you were that child. Take it all the way back. When you shouted as a child, what were you trying to do? You were trying to get somebody's attention. You were wanting somebody to see you. You were wanting to be loved. And so you develop the behavior of, if I shout, I'll get the attention. I'll therefore be getting the love. So every single emotion we experience, we have to first of all acknowledge that it's a pattern, and the way to do it is to see it through the decades of our lives, so that we can actually separate it off from the instance that happened just now, so that we can stop proportioning the blame out there, no matter who it's with, and realize it's ours, it's our behavioral pattern, and there's nothing wrong with that. And the reason there's nothing wrong with that is because as a child, all you wanted was to be loved for who you are. And as a child, you didn't know. You didn't know as a human little child that you could give that love to yourself. You didn't know. But now you do. And so now, in any moment, you can give the love that you desire and you want to yourself. You just didn't know it as a child. So what happens is, by taking the time to go through back in your life and seeing how you reacted, doesn't matter what the trigger is, just do the same process every single time. Doesn't matter what the emotion is, just do the same process. You'll end up at your childhood where something happened that you misperceived. You misperceived it through the eyes of a child that did not know the love it was lacking from the outside it could give to itself. When you realize then that it was a misperception at a very, very, very early age, it was an experience you had with child eyes, child mentality. All you actually wanted was to be seen and to be loved. And when you realize that it was a misperception, that's when you dissolve the pattern, because you know today as the adult that you can give that love to yourself at any time. And if there's anybody watching that still feels they can't give themselves love, then do this exact process on why you can't give yourself love, and trace it back. Trace it back to your childhood as to why you cannot give yourself love. And the answer will be as your child. It's the biggest one. And it's when you can give yourself love, and you realize that you're worthy of love, and you always were, that you can do the most amazing work on clearing the patterns, because you can be kind to yourself and not beat yourself up. So what will happen when you reach this revelation that the only reason you feel this emotion today is because of this event that happened when you were a child that you misperceived because all you wanted was love, and that today you can give yourself that, you clear the distortion. But there's a but. You found the core root of why the behavior pattern is in place and has been in place and was established when you were a child. You found the root. And the but is that having done that work, having found that root cause, that it goes back to your childhood, what will happen, because this is you ascending, remember, is your higher self will present another situation for you to react to. And most likely, if you're anything like me, you'll still react. Okay? We don't always get it right first time. So something's going to happen again. Know that. Know, okay, I found the root, so expect another event where you react. And most likely, you're going to react with the same pain, emotional pain, okay? But because you've done the work and you've got the memory of having done the work and you know what the root cause is, that memory comes smashing in and it makes mincemeat of the event. So yes, you have reacted from the pain again, but now you're catching yourself. Okay? Now bear with me. It'll happen again. And you'll be presented with another situation and maybe another person, different day. And then how do you react? You react from your knowing, from your wisdom. And so you don't react with the same emotion. So we're unlearning the behavior, and it's not like quick fix. It doesn't work that way. We have to dissolve it, erase it with love. There's no point in thinking, well, sod it. I don't care what that person says. I'm doing this and I'm this, because that isn't looking at the core truth. The answer hasn't been found. That is love. That is just simply ego reaction, ignoring it, being on the defensive, and so it will come round again, and it will come round again. The way we dissolve everything is with love, with understanding of ourselves, within ourselves. We didn't know any better as a child. So everything, every pattern will be dissolved with love, not ego, not anger, not fight, not forgetfulness. Oh, I'll just leave it be and it'll fade away into my mind's background. We truly can erase it. It's so simple to erase, But the gift, the key to erasing any of our patterns, is to do it with the highest frequency possible, which is love. And then when an event happens to you that once would have triggered that emotion, it happens, it's here, and you don't have a reaction to it. That's the difference. You don't have that reaction. So it doesn't affect you. And when that time comes, which is only a few times more, 2, 3 times more, and that's it. When that happens, you haven't reacted. There's nothing to dissolve. So that's a key point as well, is when something happens in your reality, if you have no emotional reaction to it, there's nothing for you to do. There's no pattern to dissolve because you're not reacting in an emotionally negative way. If there's an emotional negative reaction from you, that's the sign that there's work to do within. It's not about them. They are actually the gift to be seen through. They're presenting the gift. And it's actually your higher self bringing that person into your reality so that they do this, that and the other, or there's a circumstance that generates it maybe. How do you react? The only question is, how do I react? And if there's no reaction, there's nothing to dissolve. You're in neutral point. And all I'm going to do is list through, because I've gone through the detail of it, I'm going to list in bullet point form the stages of how to dissolve an emotion. Notice the trigger. What is the emotion? And be very accurate as to what the emotion is. Be precise, take time, ensuring you're defining that emotion correctly. Look back through the decades. Try each decade to see when you reacted with the same emotion. And you're doing that so that you own the pattern. It's not about the outside or the person. You have to see you've got a pattern in order to dissolve it. So acknowledge the pattern and then go back to childhood. The earliest memory you have when you reacted that same way. Just that one. Be loving towards the child. Remember the story as the child, but be loving towards that child and the circumstance. Relive it so that you can see all that was lacking was love. And just acknowledge in that moment the child did not know any better. The child had not learnt to love itself at that point, that the love it was missing from its life and its circumstance it could give to itself. And that's exactly what you can do. And then be very aware, be ready for it to happen again. So this is you learning to unlearn the pattern. You know the root cause. You're going to unlearn it. The next time it happens, you'll probably react with the same emotion, but you've got the new memory of knowing why, and that will come in. And then it will happen again. And most likely, you'll not react with that emotion because you're so fully aware that it wasn't real, that it was a distortion that you perceived as a child. Okay. So I hope that helps in some way. It's ever so hard to know how much to say and what to leave out. I I never want to try and bombard with too much information, but I'm trying to sort of bring it all together so that you can see why it's all happening now. It's not that your emotions are stronger. It's just the intensity of the higher self wanting those patterns to be cleared is being felt. And so what's presented now isn't like the past, because it's smacking everybody in the face where they're saying, I'm sick of this emotion, I'm fed up feeling this way, I've had enough of it. So there's a great intensity to whatever you're going through that's triggering you, the actual emotions. It literally is it, because we've already started embodying the higher self into the physical reality, which is just amazing where we're headed, and how it will change, and change quickly, very quickly. So hope it helps somehow, and just know that you're not on your own. You're completely supported, 100% supported. You're absolutely not doing this on your own. We're all here doing it together. You're not going mad. There's nothing wrong with you. You're absolutely perfect. And look what you're doing. Look where you are. So just keep going. You're just about on the precipice of seeing how special and beautiful and spectacular you are. And it's only just beginning. Stage 1 of ascension was the hard part, and it's drawing to a close. So be kind to yourself. Celebrate yourself. Keep going. God bless everybody. I love you. Bye for now. Bye-bye.